Now that we've seen that the 21st century has really turned away in the way we communicate, um, we need to look at this trend, this 15-year trend for the 21st century, and look at how we can learn from the lessons of actually moving into emails and moving into electronic communication has helped us, as well as look at the things that we may have forgotten in the process or changed in the process that is somewhat counterproductive. So what we're really looking for is what is the best way for us to learn from everything we have to become a better project engineer. And when we get into subjects such as this that are fairly complicated, it usually helps to kind of segment your thought process into categories. And so for us, we're going to kind of look at social media as one object and business-oriented networks as another. And we're mainly interested in the business-oriented networks. However, the social is going to come into it because we're looking to balance this whole thing. Because if you don't have a very balanced life, it tends to create a situation where it doesn't last very long. You're not very consistent in your day-by-day operations. So in our previous studies, we've looked at nonverbal, verbal, written, and electronic communication. And in these sections, we covered pretty much the basics for making communication meaningful and professional in their own nature. And this standard of communication, really everything we've learned up to this point, is going to be of great benefit to you in all networks of communication, which we're going to further discuss here. But we're also going to see that a lot of our skills, our written skills and our verbal skills, only apply in certain networks in certain ways. So you don't want to be using a blog as a way to communicate an important aspect of a job, such as an impact or a delay or something like that. That would be totally inappropriate. So what we're really looking at is how can we better understand each form of communication and its best means of delivery in the process. The important issue is taking your communication skills and using them in the right platforms so that they achieve their intended results. And, let's just take some examples here. Let's say we've had a team doing a research project trying to figure out how to do box supports in a large hotel. And we're looking for prefab ideas and things like that. So in that process, we come through and we develop a system whereby the outlets can be pre-configured with box supports. Then you have the feeder cables that come out of it. And then the devices are already installed in the boxes using a Wago system. So you got an easy connect on or off. And then you have a mud cover on it. So you come up with this great little prefab deal. And so in order to train your employees on how they're going to install the system, you go out, your team goes out and develops a little 5-minute video with a narrative in it that just walks them through how that prefab works. So what you've done is you've used a bunch of electronic communication techniques here to get to your intended result, which is you want to save money in your labor installation by using prefab, and you want to make sure that it gets incorporated into the job plan as efficiently as you can so that it continues to be a success. So now how do we implement this program that this team's just done? In the old days, we didn't really have an easy way to do videos. But nowadays, we know that's so different. We go out and we do job site videos on punch list items. We go out and do it for RFIs. We're using more and more different types of social media. And it's, nowadays we bring the installers into a room, show them a video, offer any assistance they may require, answer any questions, and then bingo, they're off and running, and they're productive out in the field. And so in that case, you would think that you'd probably want to expand that to greater levels so that everybody in the company can use the same design that this team came up with instead of having to recreate it on their own job sites over and over and over. So now how do we go about doing that? So we can see from this example, it'd be nice if we could put that in some part of a company library, and you'd be able to go in and say, oh, prefab. And it'd be in your library, and you'd go in and you'd see all the videos listed, and you'd say, oh, hotels, box assemblies, bingo, and then you'd have 2 or 3 videos. You pick the ones you want, and off you go and watch it. So then you would have this really, really fantastic tool. It's called your corporate library that basically inventoried and managed all the videos that you have within your company. So it's important to understand and realize that publishing for all your peers can be very effective in lots of different circumstances. And it even trickles up to marketing. When a marketing guy can walk somebody through and show them all these different videos and all these studies that we've done, it definitely sets you apart from the other electrical contractors that are out there at this moment. So in basic terms, it makes a lot of sense to use various mediums in all sorts of applications out there. So, excuse me there. The important part of this added part of electronic communication is that you only do it in a business format. You don't want to be out there trying to do a comedy inside a business environment, and that you want to make sure that you're only publishing it to the parties to which it's relevant. You don't want a bunch of corporate in-house designs floating around with a bunch of electricians out there that are going to move from job to job to job. But however, you do want your project engineers and managers that are your long-term employees very, very versed in those things. So basically, in this case, you definitely don't want to throw some video up on Facebook or LinkedIn thinking that, oh, wow, I did the right thing. I got it up there. Everybody uses Facebook. I'll just put it there. Well, yeah, everybody does use Facebook, including your competitors and your clients and everybody else. So it's really not a very smart move to take a corporate business video that was specifically catered or designed for a specific job and throw it up on the world, the big world, and say, okay, Facebook, here's what I got, So as an employee of the company, you should always be aware that the company owns any work product that you have created. So the results of that study that team did is owned by the company. The team has basic, relationship to it, meaning they have credits to that work, but they don't own that work. The company owns it. And if you think about it, that has to be that way because the company is the only one that's going to be responsible for whatever happens should you publish it. So let's say you go out and publish something that's totally incorrect and the company gets sued over it. You're not going to be sitting there chunking out your money. First of all, you're not going to have enough of it for a big lawsuit. And secondly, the corporate guys are going to go after the gusto. They're going to go for the biggest lawsuit they can find. So just remember that. You don't own that video, so you should publish it in a way that the person who does own it, which is your company, would expect for it to be published as. And if you ever have a question or you're in doubt with that, make sure you go to your project manager and have him determine how it should be published, if it should be published. So this example also leads us to the conclusion that you should always look for better ways to better your company performance. However, you should always defer to approved manners in which to publish your work. And all we're really saying here is you can come out and come up with the most avant-garde solutions that some people might think are a little bit crazy. That's all okay because you're in the brainstorming period, you're creating ideas, and out of those 10 brainstorms, you may get one that hits. However, it should always be done in a format that is professional, that would adhere to your company's standards for language, composition, all your proper formulations of ideas. Basically, make sure it's a corporate document, even though it may be the craziest thing in the world. Make sure it's done professionally. In this case, you can handle something like this simply by publishing a video to YouTube. Let's say these guys have come up with this great prefab scheme, and they need to get it out there for some other people to look at. All they have to do is go publish it on YouTube, but make sure they password protect it so that only approved viewers can see it. And then you determine a methodology of which to allow these passwords to be managed. And that's a very simple way of looking at it. And hopefully your companies will be a little bit more sophisticated in that regard, to where they're actually organizing libraries. You'll have a place you can post it into a library, and then you move from that point forward. So before we go into chapter 3, which is going to be network ethics, we really just want to come back to, using your networks is a key thing to what we've gained in technology in the last 15 years. And it really is the 21st century mentality. And the better you can manage your communications through these networks, the more professional you're going to be, and the more successful both you and your company are going to be. So this is a very key point, and remember, being selective and knowing the right ways to publish it is equally as important as what you do publish. So with that said, we'll move on to chapter 3 of this video, and we'll look at ethics a little bit.